am Vinnie Tortorich. Folks, your good intentions have been stolen, but don't worry. I'm here to help you get them back. You may be soft and succulent at the beginning of this process, but hang in there. Before long, you will be lean and mean, guaranteed. And speaking of lean and mean, this woman is lean. She doesn't look so mean, but we're going to find out, folks. I'm talking about the wonderful Miss Shannon Davis. Yeah. How you doing, Shannon?
I'm amazing, Vinny. It's such a pleasure to be on, and you got it right. I mean, I'm not mean, maybe lean, and trying to get strong like you.
Shannon, I had and you know the woman because she introduced me to you. I had your friend on just a couple of weeks ago, and she's been on several times. And she's also a registered dietitian. And we were talking, and she goes, "Oh yeah, you gotta get Shannon on. You got to bring this woman on." And I like bringing on registered dietitians because you guys have, I feel like you have the Sisyphean effort of trying to get that boulder up a hill. And from day one, you guys are taught the exact opposite thing, right?
Yes, and I hesitate sometimes to admit that I'm a dietitian, and Ken Berry, he's got probably the same thoughts as you. He's like, "Oh God, a dietitian." I'm like, "No, no, no, no. I call myself a rogue dietitian." And me and Michelle, we get beat up quite often by other dietitians for speaking the truth. I call it the truth. What we're taught is is ridiculous because we're taught by big food and big pharma. And unfortunately, unless you take it upon yourself, or you have something happen in your life that forces you to look a different way, you're going to continue down the same path, teaching the same nonsense that keep people in the same cycle of maybe getting a wee bit better, enough for the medical community to label you as a non-compliant patient because you're not better, and then you just get some meds pushed around, and no one really wants to take some self-reflection and say, maybe it's the information I'm giving out that's keeping people sick. And I've been a dietitian 19 years. I worked in organ transplant. And if I look back in 2007 through 2010 is when I did organ transplant. We did liver, kidney, and pancreas. Not once, Vinny, not one time. And I have a memory of an elephant. Did we ever teach somebody with fatty liver disease that it was a carbohydrate or sugar problem? It was all blamed on fat and protein and fried foods. And I look back and I'm like, this is unreal. If I'd had only known then what I know now. Then I did 12 years of dialysis. Why are people on dialysis? Diabetes and hypertension for the most part. Average pill count of 19. Not once did we ever talk about a low carb diet, that maybe some of your hypertension prior to it being a kidney issue was a sugar issue, not a salt issue. We're pumping them full of Nepro and Novosource renal, which if you turn it around, it's sugar, high fructose corn syrup, corn oil, sunflower oil, cottonseed oil. It's disgusting. And then I worked in pharmaceuticals for 5 years, selling a phosphate binder to people on dialysis. And it was the same sick industry of use my product. And I label myself a glorified caterer, really spending thousands of dollars a week to kiss ass and feed people, whatever food they liked. And I just got fed up with it. I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't sleep at night. You know, Prior to me quitting and starting my own metabolic health company, I flipped in 2018 is when I flipped and went low carb keto and started fasting because I failed a year of IVF and I couldn't figure out why. And I picked up Lily Nichols' book that changed my life and sent me down the rabbit hole, and I've never turned back. And then in 2022, I started my own. I had never had social media, and gosh, it was hard, and it took a lot of bravery and vulnerability to put myself out there to get chomped at. and start creating content. And the company that I worked for, basically the last year, reprimanded me probably 4 times and said, pulled me into HR and said, what you're doing, you cannot do anymore. It's a conflict of interest. It's, against what we stand for. And I quit. Because I know that God put me here to do this. I've never felt settled through my whole career until I started doing this, and I know I am fully living my purpose, and I will shout this message until I'm no longer here. And I'm loud, but I'm kind about it. I'm kind and respectful. You see people that do it in nasty ways, and that is not what I stand for and who I am. I just don't give you energy. In the beginning, it was really hard. It really, really hurt my feelings. Some of the nasty, I've never seen more hate come out to an individual. I mean, I still get it. People like to talk about my eyes and my eyebrows. That seems to be the common theme of at least a couple times a week. And I'm like, what we're talking about.
Hang on. I got to ask, what's wrong with
I don't know. I mean, can you tell me,
beautiful eyes and
well,
you
thank
have your eyebrows look normal to me? Well, so what are the comments?
What's wrong with your eyes? They look demonic. Your eyebrows look like caterpillars. What's wrong with your face? Vinny, I could go on and on and on.
So they go right. They go right to ad hominem. They skip right over, the issue. They go right to.
We're talking about obesity and type 2 diabetes. I don't know how we ended up talking about my eyebrows, but that's okay, because you know what? Bring people to my page, asshole. That's amazing. Do that. I love that.
Well, look, I mean, Dr. Drew Pinsky asked me about 10 years ago. He said, how do you deal with it? And I said, what do you mean? He goes, I can't do what you do. And I said, well, what are you talking about, Drew? And he goes, well, when people attack me on the internet, I feel like I have to say something and you don't. And I said, Drew, think of it like this. It's the sound of one hand clapping. He goes, what does that mean? I said, clap with one hand. He goes, you can't. I said, exactly. Don't give them the other hand.
Correct.
Don't, people come after me all the time. I have a wonky sounding voice. I sound like an idiot. I get it. I had a speech impediment when I was born from an ear problem. And you want to hammer me on my speech. Hell, you can say the same thing about RFK. The guy's,
yeah.
So we have speech impediments. So what? It doesn't mean that we're dumb or stupid, but I'm looking at you going, wow, beautiful young lady. And you're telling me they're going after your eyes? That's when they're out of gas on day one. Right.
Well,
so, I don't ever let any of that get to you.
That's so kind. I appreciate it. It did, if I'm honest, it did in the beginning. It does not anymore. Because I don't waste energy. I'm going to go give energy to people that want to get help and that want to hear what I have to say. And silence is golden. It ticks people off so much when you don't, respond like you. So I don't. I either block them if they really upset me, because then they don't deserve to learn from me, or I just ignore them and move on.
I learned it back. Well, even when I played high school football, I was a standout. And once you start getting recruited by colleges, you're in the deep South, so you get the football thing. The whole Friday night lights.
Oh yes.
The SEC is huge, and I was right in LSU's backyard, just to give you an idea. And so even your own fans, like when you start getting recruited, the people that were like cheering for you, some of those parents got jealous because their kids didn't get recruited. So my brothers would be in the stands and people from the other team would go, oh my God, that guy Vinny is pretty amazing. It's like, he's not that good. Now, I'm not that good, but Alabama and LSU thinks I'm pretty good.
That says a lot. Yeah.
I'm not that good, but a guy named Bear Bryant sent a couple of his guys out and look at me. So I don't know.
Yeah.
And So I learned long ago, and then when I did get to college, I played in New Orleans at Tulane. Um, there was a buddy of mine, and he was a wide receiver, and he was a blue chip All American, and they had written some stuff about him in the paper and whatever. And we'd go out after the games, and fans would, tell you what they thought of you. And he was the guy that told me this, and I've never forgotten this, and I've used it my entire life. He said, we walk out in front of 60, 70,000 people in the Superdome, and we have every eye in the building on us. And a guy sitting in the stands can't understand why one 19-year-old guy who's being chased by another bunch of big guys can't throw a ball 45 yards down the field and successfully connect with another 19-year-old guy who's also being chased by guys. And when you drop the ball, that guy goes, "Look at that idiot. He can't make," and that same guy cannot find his car in the parking lot after the game. Right?
Right?
So you have to think of yourself on the internet as everyone that's talking about you is the guy that can't find his car. Every time they say something about your eyes, that's the guy that cannot find his car in the parking lot after the game. You're not him. You're out there doing something. You're putting yourself out there, and that's the way you should look at it from now on.
Yeah, that's excellent. Thank you. Yeah.
Right?
I think it's comical now. It doesn't bother me. I've grown some pretty thick skin, and I just think when I talk to my colleagues, I'm like, we're doing something right. We
Yeah.
are pushing buttons. We're doing something right. Something has to be done. If we're going to change the health of our country, then people are going to have to be loud, and people are going to have to take some beating, and I'm happy to take it.
Shannon, long before you were born, I would have this argument. The argument was I had a friend who I went to high school with, and she became an RD, a registered dietitian. And we would have this argument constantly back in the 80s. She would say, "Vinnie, there's a big difference." And you're going to remember learning this in registered dietitian school. Vinnie, there's a big difference between complex carbs and simple carbs. Yeah, you want to limit the simple carbs. That's the sugary stuff.
Right.
But the complex carbs, your body, your stomach releases them slowly and they become even energy, and you have this energy all day long. And I would say to her, "Rebecca, those are the ones that make you extra fat. They make you fatter than even the sugar ones." "No, they don't, Vin. These are the ones, these are the energy." And your body burns fat because you see your body needs fat to burn. And if you don't take in any fat, then these complex carbs are going to help you burn fat. Fat burns in the flame of carbohydrates.
Of course they are.
And I'm sitting there going, let's see. My great grandmother, Mama Virginia, who came from Italy, who had limited education, who barely spoke English, she knew that if you ate too much pasta or bread, you will get fat. So how did she, who barely spoke English, who came here at 13, I don't think she had any education after that, how did she know more than my friend who had a college degree saying that she was a registered dietitian? How? Did you learn the same thing? When did you go through register? When did you go through dietitian school?
So I was going to be an equine orthopedic surgeon. Believe it or not, I grew up rodeoing. Horses are my life. And I graduated in 2002 with that degree, and I graduated my dietetics degree in 2004. I did a year internship. And so I started practicing in 2006. And they sure did. They taught us it gets even better, Vinnie. Not only were complex carbs amazing, but we need to eat every 2 to 3 hours because God forbid we don't, our metabolism slows down. On top of that, if you are diabetic, you must eat 45 to 60 grams of carbs per meal. And then we need you to have a couple 15-gram carb snacks and one before bed so your glucose doesn't
So
drop.
let's do the math on that. Hang on, I got a pen right here. So each meal, how many? 65?
No, 45 to 60.
All right, so let's take the middle. Let's say 50.
Yep.
So 50 times 3. And then what else?
And then a 15, a serving of carbs at a snack. So like two snacks. Let's do 2 snacks.
So that's 30 carbs right there.
We're at 180.
All right, so yeah, 150. We're at 180. 180 carbs per day. That's if you're diabetic.
Yes, absolutely. And in that meal, Vinny, is what you just talked about. We need those complex carbs.
All right, so let me put this in a different way. Just
with a straight face while we talk about this.
Yeah, all right. So let's put this in perspective. You have lung cancer, and your doctor walks in and says, "Okay, Shannon, you got yourself the lung cancer over here. I notice you smoke Camel cigarettes, and I happen to notice that you have the ones without filters. We're going to go ahead and get you the cigarettes with the filters, and you can just keep smoking. That's going to help your lung cancer." That's exactly what you're saying here. A diabetic, they're saying they're going to AA and saying, "Hey, everybody, beer's around. Everyone, we're going to all have beer."
And if you sip on it all day, you don't feel the need to binge on it.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, just keep sipping on beer. That way you'll keep just a buzz going.
Right.
And then you won't binge. That's exactly what they're trying to say. And by the way, I didn't mean to make a joke about people with lung cancer and or alcoholism, because there's nothing to joke about. No. But can you imagine walking into an AA meeting and saying, "Hey, listen, guys, here's what we're going to do. We're just going to give you an even amount of booze all day long, so you don't binge."
I mean, it doesn't make sense. When I tell you, I will talk to somebody about their diet, and they'll be like, "Well, Vinny, I don't eat sugar." And I'm like, "Well, that's awesome. Let's go over what you eat." Well, I have oatmeal for breakfast, and then I'll have, I might have some meat and vegetables and some rice or something for lunch. And then for dinner, I might have some spaghetti with garlic bread.
Yeah.
Got it. So you don't eat sugar. Right. And they're like, "No." And I'm like, "But what about the oatmeal? What about the rice? What about the garlic bread and the pasta?" "Well, that's not sugar." "Well, yes, it is. It's called sugar molecules holding hands. Your body doesn't know the difference. It's all broken down." And that's the problem. People do not understand.
All right. So Shannon, riddle me this. My thing is NSNG, no sugars, no grains. Yeah. I famously wrote a book about the whole subject, right? Okay. It says no grains right in the title of what I talk about. People can come and get my PDF for $10. That's it. It used to be free. I gave it away free 300,000 times. Now it's $10 because, and by the way, we've learned that when you charge $10 for something, people will actually read it.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm glad I started charging for it. So, you get my PDF, and then they'll do it and they'll say, "You know what? I was 380 pounds. I read your PDF. I lost 10, 15, 20, 30 pounds immediately."
Yeah.
And then it stopped dry.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll go, "Okay." And then I'll say, "Take me through your day." Same thing you just said. Take me through your day. Okay. I wake up in the morning and I have oatmeal. And it's like, "Well, oatmeal's a grain."
That's right.
And they'll go, "Yeah, but it's oatmeal."
Yeah.
No, I heard what you said.
And it's still cut oats, right, Vinny? It's still cut oats.
That's the next thing they'll say. "No, Vin, this is not the microwave crap. This is steel cut oats." Okay, so they prepared your grain a different way, so we're going to let it go? That's it. Oh, they cut it a steel cut? Oh, you didn't mention that up front. But you see, I don't get mad at these people. And folks, Shannon and I, we're not laughing about this. We're just talking shop here. But it's crazy that for over 100 years, you've had Kellogg's and Post telling us it's the most important meal of the day. You need to wake and bake pretty much. You need to get these oats in you right away. Oats are healthy. They're heart healthy. They're grain. Those are all lies created, right?
Yeah.
There is no good oat. That's why, I'm in the Urban Dictionary for the term fuck quinoa, because people would say, well, Vinny, it's quinoa. And I would go, it's a grain. They would go, yeah, but it's quinoa. And my answer is, listen, just because it tastes like ass doesn't mean it's healthy for you.
Right.
Okay, you're being virtuous. You're eating something that tastes nasty. It's called quinoa. Gotcha. It doesn't make it good.
No,
It's not good for you.
So here's something you'll like. My sister is super into health and fitness, and it's funny because family doesn't really believe what you say. She doesn't ask.
Well, hang on, let me write that one down. Family does not listen. I've never heard that before.
Yeah. So her sister's is a registered dietitian, but she doesn't, and I love her to death, but she doesn't really come to me for nutrition advice. But her CrossFit coach or somebody will tell her something, and she gets it. So she's eating egg white omelets for breakfast with spinach and broccoli, and she's like, I just can't figure it out, Shannon. My stomach bloats, and I get this terrible gas. She goes, I don't understand. I'm like, well, you're eating foods that you shouldn't eat. Well, but they're healthy. I'm like, oh, okay. A fat-free, no fat in the egg whites, and then these vegetables. Why are you eating these vegetables that are destroying your stomach? Well, they're super healthy, but no, they're not. They're destroying your stomach. This is just. I'm like, I'm like, Sarah. If a dog ate something that upset their stomach, they're not going to eat it again.
Right.
Animals are smarter than we are. They don't do it but once, and they go away. We just continue to eat things that kill us. We eat foods that kill us knowing that it's doing it. And we eat foods that upset our stomach and make us sick or send us to the bathroom because we've been told or led to believe that it's healthy. It's the whole theme of our country. It's why we're where we are.
I'm going to give you another tool to use within your practice. And maybe you've thought of this one before because you seem like you're me, but with a vagina. So I tell people, I call it, instant inflammation. And this works better with women than with men, right? So if you get a woman, you'll say, listen, you ever have one of those days where you're feeling skinny, you're feeling good? Yeah. All right. And you put on your skinny jeans, the ones that only fit when you're feeling good about yourself. Mm-hmm. Okay. You put your skinny jeans on, and then it's Friday night. So you went out with the girls. And by the way, you put those pumps on, the ones that when you feel skinny, they fit just perfect. Oh, yeah. Okay. You go out to Mexican night because they got the special. And they come there with the Cadillac margarita because it shows up first. Or you get yourself your margatini. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The skinny one with agave because it's better.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's that one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So they come with your skinny margarita. And while you're drinking that margarita, all of a sudden you feel muffin top happening. Like it happens, and they'll say, and they'll stop dry. Whenever I say that, I was like, how do you know what's going on under my shirt? Right? Because I've been doing this for 48 years. That's why. And they'll go, yeah, I've actually had that. And those pumps you put on, they start to get a little tight. Mm-hmm. And if those jeans aren't of the stretchy variety, as they make them now, right? The forgiving jeans so you can keep eating. I call them Super Bowl jeans. You can just keep eating and they just keep expanding.
That's great.
So, yeah, it's like all of a sudden you're now miserable. You haven't even had your meal yet. And you feel miserable, right? They go, yeah, that's actually happened. And then you explain to them how it happens. Like, listen, as soon as you started eating that sugar in that margarita and eating those chips in the salsa that also has sugar in it, and you've only had a few chips, you haven't had enough to cause any kind of calorie explosion in your body, but your body had an instant reaction to what you just ate. It's actually causing inflammation in real time. The other place you see it, folks, and when I say this, you're going to go, oh my God, I thought it was something else, on airplanes. If you're that idiot that takes your shoes off, and I'm begging you guys, stop taking your shoes off in airplanes. It's not your living room. It's not your bedroom. Keep your effing shoes on. But if you're that person who takes your shoes off and then at the end of the flight try to put them back on and they don't fit, and you think it's because you are at altitudes, you were not at altitudes. You were in a pressure-controlled cabin. You were not at altitudes. The plane was at altitudes. Your body thought, by the way, people don't realize this, they equal it off. Your body thinks you're at 7,000 or 8,000 feet. Did you know that? When you're
I would have, yeah, well, I figured that because you wouldn't be able to tolerate it.
Well, yeah, it's not one to one. You are, they don't give you enough, so, but it does, people think that the flight made them expand. No, 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 no. It's all of that junk they gave you to eat while you were in the air. You had instant inflammation from it. I get on and off flights. I wear cowboy boots everywhere. I'm like you. I grew up with horses and everything else. Cowboy boots fit just so, as you know, right?
Probably fast. Don't you fast on when you're traveling?
Yeah, I'll fast, or if it's international, I'll bring a couple of eggs with me. And I can do that because I get the pod where you get to lie down.
Yeah.
So if I open up a thing, it doesn't smell like I opened up a bag of farts next to the guy next to me. Right? I would never do that on a domestic flight, but there's no domestic flight that goes longer than 5 hours. So if you fasting, I go 5 hours every day without eating. And I'm usually out kayaking or rowing or doing something. I'm in the yard working or running. So if I can't just sit on the plane without eating for 5 hours, I got a different problem.
Right.
So, yeah, people get on planes. So that's two real examples, Shannon, of people getting instant inflammation from eating junk. What say you?
I use the chips. I don't use the inflammation analogy, but I use, I always tell people, I'm like, why do you think that Mexican restaurants and places give bread bowls and chips? I was like, they're not being kind. They're trying to spike your insulin and make you hungry and make you eat more food. Yeah. And I'm like, that's not, they don't know that they're doing that per se. They just know that if they feed you that, you'll eat more food. And even when you're stuffed, they can bring by that dessert menu and you bet your bottom dollar you're going to make room for it. But if I
call it an appetizer, it's actually called an appetizer, is to cause an appetite. Yeah. And that's what it does.
Yeah.
They're telling you what it is. Here's something to make you want to eat more.
It's true. True.
Right? They're not hiding the fact. It's appetizer.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It opens up your appetite. Hang on just a second. Folks, Villa Capelli olive oil. This is something I'm sure Shannon would agree with 1,000%. Olive oil. Villa Capelli has been with us from almost the beginning. Now, here's the deal. Our country, man, I hope we get on top of this. I really do. I know we got a lot happening in the government. I'm sure Shannon and I are going to talk about it in a second. But man, olive oil, you can still cut it up to 40% and call it 100% pure olive oil. That's criminal. It's just criminal. But you don't want that to happen. Villa Capelli, and look, they're not the only one that makes 100% pure olive oil. They're not. But I don't have time to go vet every company that makes a good olive oil. The one thing I have done is whenever I'm like in one of those wine and cheese shops that have the real olive oil, I'll look and they'll sell you 350 milliliters of that stuff for like $60. That's criminal. You could get 3 liters of Villa Capelli for like $95. And you go, geez, $95 anywhere. Are you a Rockefeller? No, think about that. 3 liters. For Americans, that's almost a freaking gallon of olive oil for $95. Go check it out. I'm saying 95. It could be 100, 105. I can't remember. I just buy 2 3-liter tins at a time. That's right. Villa Capelli does not give me the olive. I go, like you guys, I go to Villa Capelli and put in promo code Vinnie and get the 10% off. I get 2 at a time. Why? Because when you spend more than $140, you get the discount, which is about $15. That brings it down to $125. And guess what? Free shipping. Boom. Free shipping. Over $125 at Villa Capelli. I just did the math for you. Go to Villa Capelli. And by the way, you don't have to get 2 3-liter tins to get that. You could buy other stuff. They have herbs. They got everything you need. They got different salts. They even make a lemon olive oil. Go check that one out. Villa Capelli, the longest running sponsor of this show. Promo code Vinnie, VINNIE, no wimpy Y. You get 10% off every single time. Go check it out. We're talking to registered dietitian Shannon Davis. Shannon, let's get, I just started to mention it right here in my Villa Capelli ad. But we both know to get this done, there's got to be government involvement. I don't want to know what your politics are. Please do not mention, I do not do politics on this show. I don't care if you're on the right. I don't care if you're on the left. As a matter of fact, I've often said, if someone on the right is in there, I want them to do well. I don't want them to mess up. If someone's in the left, we just had Joe Biden. He was on the left. I want him to do well too, because when the president does well, we all do well. That's what they're doing. They're representing us. That's what politicians, it becomes a popularity contest. Well, your guy sucks. Look at that. He went to an island. He sucks. Well, your guy went to the island too. He sucks, right? We sit around and worry about which island a politician flew. I don't care which island they flew to. I just want them to all do well. Right. Right now, for the first time in my lifetime, and I'm 63 years old coming up. For the first time in my life, someone is actually doing something that's stirring up what's going on in health. Any thoughts? And by the way, this is not some love affair with RFK from me, but I've said from the beginning, I just want someone to go in and do something. Are you seeing anything on those fronts?
I mean, like we were speaking before the show, it's the first time I've actually felt like there's hope. We're actually bringing things to the surface: food chemicals, food dyes, the ridiculous food guide pyramid that needs to be thrown out the door in the trash. What they're feeding our kids in schools. Yes, I feel hopeful. We've got Nina, we've got RFK, Casey Means coming up, Marty, all of these people who are just really big proponents of metabolic health coming in. And it's like you said, it's not about the left or the right. It's about what's right for our country. It's what's right for our people. And we have to start dealing with the issues. We can't just pretend they're not there and talk about, we'll follow the guidelines. Y'all, the guidelines have gotten us sick. We're sick. And people are sick because they followed the guidelines. So we need to change the guidelines. We need to really look at it from a different angle. And it's nice to see somebody finally coming in saying, you know what, real food is the answer. Exercise is the answer. And if we don't do anything about it, our children we're creating a new generation of they're just going to be lining up, sticking their hands out, getting meds, kind of like the Matrix.
Yeah, look, I've been yelling for 10, 12 years on this show, bring back the presidential physical fitness test. And when I would even bring it up, people would say to me, what are you talking about? And when I would explain, do you mind how old are you, Shannon?
45, but I remember doing it in elementary school.
So you guys did it as a kid. So, all right, my generation, everyone had to do it. No one was exempt from it, right? Every kid had to take that test. It wasn't I can get out of jail free card. I mean, unless you were in a wheelchair, you did that test, right? I went to a private Catholic school, but we also had a public school that my parents taught at right down the street. And they had to do it there, every kid. Yeah. I've asked my mom and dad over the years. My dad was a principal. My mom was an English teacher. And I would say to him, did any kid? It's like, no, every kid had to do it. Lyndon Johnson brought it in. It was talked about. RFK, not RFK. John F.
Reagan.
Kennedy, JFK started talking about it. We need to get these kids healthy. After he was shot, Lyndon B. Johnson brought it in. It was set up. We all did it. It was one of the things that started me off realizing that I was a pretty good athlete. I didn't know I was an athlete at all. Both of my parents were academic types, right? There were no athletes in my family. And they started measuring, the kid doing the most pull-ups.
Yep.
The kid who ran it was a 50-yard dash.
Yep.
And then there was a 600-yard dash. I don't know if 600 yards doesn't seem like you're dashing it, but I came out on top on all of those things.
Yep.
Right. And I'm not bragging about me. I didn't know I had athletic ability. Right. I was lifting weights as a young kid, but I didn't know that related to anything else other than, the neighborhood Italian guy who had some equipment in his garage. And I was this outcast kid. Right. You're the kid with the speech impediment in the Deep South. Guess what? You're getting beat up on every day. Your job is to get your ass kicked.
Yeah.
Right.
So you better get strong.
Yeah. And this old, he was my parents' age, but this guy, Joe Bonadonna, took me in. And then I started doing the president. And that's when, that and me getting in trouble at school and beating up a lot of kids all at once. And a football coach saw that and went, we got to get this kid on the football field. Right. That test, I attribute that test to say, and when I found out that in 2012, it was taken out at the beginning of Barack Obama's tenure. I don't know why he took it out. I don't think
Well,
Barack.
I don't even think they have PE anymore. I could be wrong, but
okay. So Shannon, I was in California. I've told this story 1,000 times on the show, but it's bear repeating. So I lived out in Calabasas, right? And Calabasas, people know about it now because of like the Kardashians, right? That's where, and one of my big celebrity clients, I couldn't get it. I had to get her to lose. Get this. I had to get her to lose weight because she was hired by a weight loss product.
Oh, wow.
Before and after. So, when you would see, I'm not going to mention my client, but I'll mention other clients. When you see like Kirstie Alley or like the Osmond woman or something talking about, hey, I lost 20 pounds.
You haven't seen her lately then, obviously. She's been on Ozempic and she
doesn't, we'll get to Ozempic in a minute, but so it was one of those type of people. And with the way they get these people thin is they would hire a guy like me. They would bring a chef in, they would bring everyone in, and we would put them on a low carb diet. And I would run them silly until they lost 20 or 30 pounds. I lost all this weight in 2 weeks. And all I did was took that product. Right. Yeah. And that's the world I used to live in. I'm ashamed that I was part of it, but I was earning a living. See, just like you, I was collecting a check.
Yeah.
And I knew it wasn't right. Right. So I was with my client and we would go out to the Calabasas High School track. Same time every day for the several weeks. I was trying to get her to do anything. I was trying to get weight off of this woman. And the bell would ring about halfway through our session on the track. Mm-hmm. And a group of kids would walk out onto the track, onto the infield, and sit. 2 people, one male, one female, would then walk around the track where my client and I were jogging, twirling whistles around their fingers, having a conversation, just chit-chatting. These were the 2 PE teachers that were in charge of this group of kids. High school kids, right? And by the way, every now and again, as you're walking around the track, you would get like a wafting of pot, like someone had like the vape. Yeah. And so they're out there just smoking pot, just hanging out in the infield. And the 2 teachers are just walking around. So one day I had enough. And so my client and I walked up to him and said, "Hey, are you guys teaching or just babysitting?" It's like, "No, we're teaching that class." And it's like, "Well,
Oh yeah.
why aren't you guys doing your job?" And the guy goes, "Because we are doing our job." And it's like, "Come again?" He said, "Every kid in that class has a note from home not to be able to do PE. All healthy kids,
Why?
all healthy kids just sitting on their ass. Every now and then, there was a soccer net set up. You would see one kid dribbling the ball around a little bit or whatever and kind of kicking it into the net, and that was it. They just sat the whole. There was like 30 kids just sitting every day.
Wow.
Every day, he goes, every kid in this school has a note. Can you imagine?
No, I grew up on a farm, and we never sat still. We didn't even play video games. We were outside carrying 50-pound bags of feed, 5-gallon buckets full of water, cleaning stalls, saddling horses. You know, it didn't matter. It was manual labor all day. And then we played soccer. I grew up playing soccer, but I didn't have girls in my little small town. I played with boys through high school.
Yeah.
And that's all we knew was activity. And I've I exercise every day. That's just, it was bred into me from day one, and that's just part of my life. But I'm sure those kids that sat are ones that still sit all day and don't move, and it's a
It
shame.
is. And then they get a job sitting in a cubicle, and there goes a perfectly good life. And we have a real problem. And that's when I started, long before this podcast started, I said, we're going to break under the weight of our own weight.
Yeah.
Medicare and Medicaid and insurance won't be able to keep up. And there we are. I was saying that 15 years ago. Here we are now, breaking under the weight of our own weight. I mean, uh, God help us if we could keep a military going, right?
Oh,
We
yeah.
can't even get people, they've had to lower the standards in the military just to
Right.
let people in.
People can't pass the test.
And it's a pretty simple test. If you're going to go fight, there's a pretty simple test. I would hate to be the guy who got it squeaked in under the wire under the new test. That means your ass is going to get shot first, right? It's sad. It's really sad. And all I'm trying to do is help people. That's why I've been yelling, and I've said from the beginning, and people have been tweeting at me for 2 days now going, "Oh my God, they're bringing the presidential physical fitness test back." Because I've said to every president, I've said to Obama, I've said to, on this podcast, I've said to Obama, I've said to Trump the first time, I've said to Joe Biden's people,
Mhm.
bring me in. Do not give me a salary. I will do this job for free. I do not want a government salary. Keep my salary. I would like to help for free. I will actually travel on my own dime to help get this country back in shape physically, right? So I'm glad that now the Make America Healthy movement is actually doing something
Yep.
to move that in the right direction.
Well, I'll come do it with you, because
I
this,
appreciate it.
I mean, it's there's nothing that I would rather see than people get better, and that's why I do what I do. That's why we got the New American Diabetes Society to speak opposite of the American Diabetes Association. We're just all trying to tell people the truth, to show people that you can take control of your own health. You are in charge of it, and you don't have to be, your identity is not your disease, because more than likely it's a dietary disease that can't be medicated. You've eaten your way in, and we need to teach you how to eat your way out.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned something early on. You said when you were working with people on dialysis and the whole thing, you had mentioned 19 pills,
Yep.
because, last week I had a doctor, Trokalasian, who I'm sure you
Yeah.
know.
Yep.
Tro says it's not unusual for people to be on 20 pills, 20 different pills a day. Now, when I first started this podcast, it was 5, 7 pills a day was the average. Now these doctors are going, oh, 5 to 7. We consider that normal and healthy people,
Oh
you know?
yeah. my mom went to, she's 70 and she had a physical. She said they asked her no less than 5 times what medication she's on. She's like, I'm not on anything. And she was prescribed a statin several years ago. She took it a few months until I was like, no, mama, no, no, no. They call her still to this day saying, we need to refill your statin. We need to refill your statin. And she basically has to argue with them and say, no, I'm not taking that medication. They get mad.
Well, actually, they need to write down. They'll ask. She probably doesn't tell you this, but what they'll say is they'll say, "So, are you refusing to take this medication?" When you say yes, they check that off, because if you die of a heart attack, then they can say, "Hey, we told her to be on the statin." So you see, they're covering their ass with insurance.
Yeah,
is what they're doing.
because you and I both know that statins prevent heart attacks.
Yeah, exactly. They've prevented exactly zero.
Correct.
Zero heart attacks is how many people.
And it bothers me, Vinny, that people think that statins, like they get on a statin thinking that now I'm safe. I'm like,
Right.
that is the most insane thing that you can do, is think that this statin is preventing you from having a cardiac event. We'll try 1%, 1%. So
And
it's giving
when you take 1% can be plus or minus 5, which means it can be below 1%. So I want to get in, I've been asking everyone about this lately, and I want to ask you, but I need to do a quick ad. We're going to get into GLP-1s, and I'm sure you got a thing or two to say about that. Folks, purevitaminclub.com. Here's the thing. When I had cancer the first time, I looked around, I looked at everything, I looked at my vitamins. Everything had titanium dioxide. Now, you may have just seen where the government finally said no titanium dioxide in food anymore. I've been yelling about this for years. Pure Vitamin Club was founded on not having titanium dioxide and no excipients or flow agents. It's the only vitamin on the planet that's completely pure. We've never found, even something like pure encapsulation always have things like silica or something else in it. We have none of that. Zero. That's right. PureVitaminClub.com. New and improved. I took over my own company. Things weren't being run right. And they say if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. So on top of everything else I do, I now run that company, and sometimes I stick a broom handle up my ass so I can sweep on my way out at night. PureVitaminClub.com. Go check it out right now. We're back, and we're bigger and better than ever before. We're talking to registered dietitian Shannon Davis. Shannon, everyone comes on, and the first thing they say to me off the air, can we talk about GLP-1s, GLP-1s, GLP-1? And I actually have people yelling at me on the internet going, why are you so jealous of people losing weight with GLP-1s? I'm not jealous. I'm not jealous at all. I want people to lose weight. But there's other problems, right? There ain't no free lunch with a drug.
No.
What do you know about them?
Well, I know, I don't know everything, but I know enough to know that I would stay away from them. I think that I am not anti-med. I think there's a time and place for people to take medications when they are like necessary. But somebody getting on a GLP-1 to lose 10 or 20 pounds, I think is, again, I don't disrespect. If that's what you choose to do, that is up to you. And I do not mean any disrespect when I say this, but I think that they are being highly abused. I think that people go into using them not fully understanding what could happen. And, they hear about, or they see, oh, I'm going to get the weight loss. But do you realize most of it is muscle and bone? Do you realize that you're dealing with a risk of thyroid cancer, pancreatitis, permanent gut paralysis, optic nerve damage, erectile dysfunction? And Dr. Ben Bickman, who's a friend of mine and a mentor, we talk a lot, and nobody talks about the hyperplasia that takes place. Like these fat cells they multiply. Nobody talks about that. They shrink while you're on the drug, but they also multiply. So when you get off, you have a higher propensity to gain back much more weight. It can suppress autophagy, It there is, just like you said, there's no free lunch. Nobody talks about what goes on from like a ghrelin standpoint. Um, and I personally, this is just me. I do not know if this is true. I think when you are bombarding your body with such an astronomically high dose of a mimetic, it's not even when I tell people, I'm like, you have to understand there is zero GLP-1 in Ozempic. It is a receptor agonist. It mimics what our natural GLP does one does. I think our own receptors would get numb or stop making it their own, because they're, kind of like if somebody abuses testosterone, you start making less of your own. But I don't think that it's the end all be all. We know people come off. I think it's what 50% come off in 20 in the first year, and 70% come off in 24 months. They gain it back up to 80%. And we know you don't, muscle is a very expensive piece of real estate. You lose muscle, you're not going to gain muscle back. It's just how I wish that I could gain muscle, right?
Right.
Uh, but it doesn't happen, and it's not the answer. You cannot just inject and continue to eat crap food. You're eating less crap, but it's still crap. It's not. Now, I think that there could potentially be a place where somebody could microdose it in, come in, use it to help break their carb addiction, and knowing that they're going to come off in like 60 days. It would be almost like, okay, we're going to start you on it. We're going to get that snowball rolling, and then adopt these behaviors, the keto diet, the intermittent fasting, get you exercise, and then it stops. It stops. But that's not
Yeah,
what happens.
you see, no, that sounds too much like work. People just want look, the people I know, and I'm talking about loved ones and friends that have gone on them. They're not going to change anything. The idea is, I'm not going to change anything. I'm just going to inject this
Yeah.
GLP-1. And yeah, Ben said, I had Ben in my final in the last documentary I did. He talked about it. He says, look, 50% of all, and whenever you do a documentary, it goes through attorneys, and then they look at that and they go, hey, you got this doctor saying 50%
Yeah.
is coming of your muscle is coming off with, so if you lose 10 pounds with the GLP-1, 5 pounds of that was muscle. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah. They go, we're going to have to see some papers on this, because we can't let this fly in a documentary. You can get sued. Guess what? It's still in the documentary.
Yeah.
We were able to prove that,
And
right?
what about the suicide rates? What about the anxiety? What about the depression that
Yeah, yeah. You hear about all that stuff too, but but just when you just look at it on the surface, just trying to take a drug. And I feel, look, no one feels for morbidly obese people as much as I do. I've been helping people. It used to be the heaviest people I saw were 300 pounds, and then the heaviest people I saw were 350. And before I knew it, I was working with 400-pound people. Now I can't tell you the number of people I've worked with that were plus 600 pounds. Right, this
oh,
is common
heart
things. And
heartbreaking.
you want these people to lose weight in any which way
Of
they
course.
can. And I get it. I get it when they go on the GLP-1s. I just want them to know that it's not a free lunch. It's not.
No.
And drugs always come with more complications than what they help. You can't name one drug that has fewer complications than what it's trying to cure at
Correct.
all. You
Correct.
know, include, people go, come on, Vinny, you've been on chemo twice. Yeah. Guess what? It takes it takes a little bit of your soul. As a matter of fact, last summer when I had to, I'm a leukemia survivor. So last summer when I was on chemo for the second time, they told me every 5 years, Shannon. I made it 17 years before I had to go back on chemo again.
Your lifestyle and your
So,
diet.
well, I'm hoping that was it. No one else has ever gone that long. And I looked down, I said, okay, if I go another 17 years, I'm going to be close to 80 years old. And I'm pretty sure that I'm not going to survive it next time. I probably won't even take the chemo. If I make it another 17 years, I'm going to say, you know what, I just want to go out gracefully, because when you take a drug, I took a drug twice to save my life. At the same time, it's taking something away from you.
And it
And,
probably like to have taken your life. Chemo is no joke.
oh, chemo. I saw, I was, when my younger brother had colon cancer, I was there coaching him through it, going, you got to hang on, man. There were days when he just wanted to, I just want to put a gun in my mouth. You know, it's chemo is horrible.
Mhm.
You got to coach people through it. And that's a drug that saved my life twice. I don't think I'm going to do it the third time.
Vinny, what's really sad is I have people in my life that when I say they think that they're overweight, they're not. I mean, you look at them and they're not overweight, and they have told me, I do not care. I don't care what the drug does. I want to lose weight. I don't care. How
Yeah.
sad is that? And I would think most of the people that are taking it, they're getting it from these online pharmacies. It's compounded, and they're injecting it, and they're sick as stink, and they don't care.
Yeah.
They don't all they and that breaks my heart to think that somebody wants to be thin that bad, that at no, they don't care what it takes.
Yeah.
When you and I know we have we have tools, we have protocols where they can get there if they just do them. And they're simple, but simple doesn't mean easy. But
Right.
it's going to mean that, yeah, you're going to have to give up the food that you're addicted to, but you're going to get to replace it with, I mean, what's better than a juicy steak or a runny egg, or with broccoli with butter? Like, what's not good about that? I don't understand.
But when you tell it to someone who is drinking 3 and 4 2-liter bottles of Coke per day and eating junk food, they're going, eggs, meat, what the f? Yeah, they're not looking at, you have to get them to that. That's the problem, right? In a clinical setting, what you're talking about works, right? But you have to get them to that,
Yeah.
and they're not there naturally. So I think that's the biggest hurdle, is to get people there.
But there's natural ways, Vinny. There's natural things that upregulate your own GLP-1. I drink a concentrated yerba mate that boosts my own 60 to 70%. It shuts off the food noise with no side effects. There are things. Exercise increase, protein, fats. There are things, if people are just willing to just be. Here's the problem. Nobody wants to be even that much uncomfortable. And I don't know. I don't know. It's maybe the wussification of our country. I don't know. It's
Well,
um
some of it is, but I try not to blame the people who are going through it, right?
no, it's not them. It's not them.
Yeah, yeah, they've been lied to, and
Yeah,
we've met. Look, all the clues are there. We mentioned the FDA. We mentioned the food pyramid in this podcast. All of those things are part and parcel to what the problem is,
yeah.
right? People, they hear heart healthy grains. They have registered dietitians telling them to eat.
Yes, and doctors, and telling them that you need to take these meds, and
Right.
you know, 1,000 people do not know what to believe. Their doctors are telling them this, dietitians are telling them this, and then you got people like me and you telling them this, and they're like, "Well, what the heck do I do?"
Look, I have a neighbor. We were just a little while ago. We were talking about family not listening. I have a neighbor. His name is Rod with a D, because I also talk about my neighbor Rob with a B. Um, so Rod with a D as in dog. Um, he, he's asked me several times about, we shoot skeet together. We belong to the same skeet club, and we talk. And he's not fat by any stretch, but he's 77 years old, and he wants to be as lean and as healthy as he can. And I would say, look, Rod, here's a PDF. Here's my book.
Yeah.
Our wives walk together. We're friends. We have dinner with these people. And so one day I get a phone call, and he goes, "Hey, Vinny, you ever hear of this guy?" This is what he said. This guy Eric Eastman. And I said, "You mean Eric Westman?" He goes, "Yeah, yeah, that's the guy's name, Westman." I went, "Yeah, why?" He goes, Oh, so you know what he recommends? I said, Rod, I've asked you to watch my documentaries. Eric Westman's in at least 2 of the 4 documentaries. He comes on my podcast regularly. Oh, so you know this guy. It's like, have you not heard a word I've said? So this is a smart guy. This guy was an attorney for a living when he was still practicing. This is a smart guy. People don't hear when you talk. Do you understand? That's basically the problem. I've been yapping to Rob for about 2 years. And then one day he calls me up and mentions Eric Eastman. Can't even get his name right.
Did you tell Eric, Dr. Westman, that he got called?
I didn't, because I haven't spoken to Eric in a few weeks, but this happened about a month ago. And by the way, in 1 month, I gave him the PDF again. He's lost 25 pounds.
Go figure.
Yeah, you know, and he even told me, we had dinner at their house the other night. They served salmon, and he goes, he literally said to me, and by the way, his wife is super lean. She's one of those old time lean women that just don't eat.
Oh.
You know, they just don't eat, and the clavicles are like sticking out. She looks like
wouldn't like me because I eat. Oh my God, do I eat?
Oh, she's old timey. She's old timey skinny, kind of like Babe Paley and all those kind of. But he's we're over there and they're all eating the right thing now and the whole thing. And yeah, he said to me during dinner, he whispered, he goes, I didn't know it was this easy. I said, Rob, you see what we serve when you guys come to our house. That's how we eat. Well, you think we just serve that when you guys come? That's how we eat all the time. And yeah. So we'll make that the final word. Where can people find you, Shannon?
Well, thanks for asking. TikTok hates me.
Yeah.
So I'm more prevalent on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I can give you a link tree, which has all my platforms.
Send it all to me and I'll get it to my person and
Perfect.
to get it over to Leona. We're going to find ways for you guys to find Shannon. I love this woman. She'll be back on again because I can't get enough of her. Shannon, don't hang up because we have to wait for this to like upload or something.
Sure.
No. You know what to do. We all go shopping on Amazon. Before you go to Amazon, go to VinnieTortorich.com. Click through the banner. We also have that PDF. We mentioned it during the show. Go get the PDF. And just like my neighbor Rod, you can lose 25 pounds just by reading that PDF. So go do all of that. We will open up the VIP again sometime in August. So if you want to be in the VIP group, go to VinnieTortorich.com/VIP to do that. On behalf of Shannon Davis, my name is Vinnie Tortorich. Put life into living and do it with enthusiasm.